Hey everyone, my name is Nicole, also known as Nikki Vegan, and in today's video, I'm going to show you what a day of being a full-time YouTuber looks like for me. I'm going to show you how I film my recipe videos, how I set up my lighting and my cameras, how I edit my videos, and how I take my photos, just some food styling tips. Food styling is one of my favorite parts about the job, and also food photography. I did not go to school for this. All of this is self-taught through a lot of Googling late at night, lots of trial and error, and I feel like I'm always learning and always practicing, but I do think I have fairly low tech equipment. I kind of just have the basics of what really is necessary to do the job, and so I'm excited to be able to share that with you guys and kind of show you what I think is necessary and hopefully help you guys out and just kind of give you a peek into what I do, because I know it's sort of a strange job, you know, being a YouTuber and a recipe developer. Like, what does that actually mean? So I'm going to give you a peek into my day behind the scenes. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you to Skillshare for teaming up with me on this video, and let's get started. So as a recipe developer, I tend to have a lot of leftovers from filming, editing, and recipe testing. So on this morning, I had some banana bread. This recipe is already up on my channel and it's so tasty, if I do say so myself. I absolutely love it with some almond butter or vegan cream cheese. And so I served this up with blueberries, and it was super quick and easy. A lot of times with food styling and food photography, there's a lot of stuff added to the food to make it look shiny or glossy or whatever on camera. Like, it is actually kind of a little bit of an art to make food that tastes good actually look good on camera, and we'll cover some of that in this video. But I don't do anything weird to my food because I want it to still be edible afterwards. Nothing goes to waste in my kitchen. I either eat it, or me and my friends and family do, or give it to people in the community. So nothing goes to waste, and that is what I had for breakfast to start the day. A filming day really does start with the night before by like prepping my camera, cleaning it, making sure the battery is charged and the memory card is empty. I've been using this Sony Alpha 5100 for about 5 years now. It's definitely not the highest quality on the market. There are so many better options, but it's very beginner friendly. I've had really good luck with it. It's very user friendly, and it does a good job at a pretty good price point. I typically use this for when I'm filming straight to camera, so for intros and outros, when I'm describing the recipe, and a lot of times when I'm vlogging, just because I'm very comfortable with this camera. So for me, it's very easy to use when I'm out and about and I just want something that I, feel like I can quickly get the shot and I don't have to fiddle around too much. This is what I use for that. I also use this for those movement shots when I'm panning over a recipe and I want to show the plating and the details. The kit lens that comes with the camera is a zoom lens, so it's good for both wide angle and zoomed in. So I use that quite a bit. But for more of a cinematic look, I like to switch out this lens, the 50mm lens. This is really good if you're not going to be moving. You do want to put it on a tripod, and it's not good for when you're going to be speaking to the camera directly because it does make a clicking sound when it adjusts. So I use this when I'm shooting video that I want to do voiceover for and have a little bit more of like a moody, cozy effect. And I use this a lot for photography, specifically for the step-by-step photos in my blog. So I like to tell a visual story of the recipe. So I describe it in words, but then I also have photos that illustrate the recipe step by step, so that when you're reading one of my recipes, you really have a good sense of how to do it, how to make it, and that gives you a sense of confidence when you're going to go to make it, like you really know what you're doing. Photos can be a big part of that, and I love using this lens specifically for that. I also have a Canon G7X, which is a great vlogging camera. I like that both of the cameras that I have a flip-up viewfinder, so it's easy to see when I'm in frame. I will say the autofocus is a little bit better on the Sony, but the quality of footage and also my skin tone is a little bit more realistic when I use the Canon. I take a lot of photos on my iPhone, which might surprise some of you guys, but I find the quality to be really, really good. And I also vlog on my iPhone a lot just because I already have my phone with me. It means that I don't have to carry around extra equipment. So for example, like when I was recently vlogging in DC, pretty much every time I was out of the house, I was filming on my phone. I also find this really convenient because I edit my photos in Lightroom on the Lightroom app on my phone. So it's nice to kind of have it all there in one place. It's just very convenient. I do recommend getting a pop socket because the newer phones are so big and so heavy. And I find that since I do so much work on my phone, it really is nice to be able to distribute the weight a little bit more evenly. And it just makes for more steady filming as well. And you can use the pop socket to kind of like prop it up on stuff when you're out and about and you don't have a ton of like equipment like tripods and stuff. So I really recommend recommend getting that. But yeah, using your iPhone is really all you need nowadays. And as you can imagine with all these cameras, I have a lot of video footage, a lot of photos, and I like to save all of that to my hard drive. That way I can free up my memory cards for filming. I really like the Lacy because it has a rubber protective barrier, so it keeps it nice and safe. And I do have several of these from so much footage over the years. Now for my favorite part, the food styling props. So all over my kitchen, you'll find a bunch of plates and bowls and cups and mugs and utensils and wine glasses, napkins, placemats, and all of this is really so that I can choose one that is going to make the food that I'm filming look the best, but also to kind of tell a story about the recipe. Like the different colors and the different styles really help to give a feeling. So you can kind of tell if something is meant to be summery and fresh and light or cozy and warm and wintry. And I really love being able to pick and choose what I'm going to film with all these props. So after breakfast on this day, I started setting up. The first thing I did was I turned off this fan. It actually really does mess with the light. It kind of looks like a strobe light overhead. So I turned that off. Then, because I shoot in a studio apartment, I moved my desk over the window for the best natural lighting I could get, and I set up this tripod, which is amazing for overhead shots. I can also kind of adjust it so that it's on me, but it's really, really handy. Then I put down this surface. It's from Replica Surfaces. I absolutely love, I have a whole bunch of their surfaces, and it makes it really pretty and kind of cohesive in all of my videos and my blog posts. And as you can see, this allows me to work on the workspace, and then I have that pretty overhead shot. So once I had that set up, I also went ahead and I set up my mise en place, which means I wanted to have everything in place for the recipe so that I wasn't running around while the camera was rolling. So I set out my ingredients. I also got all of my cups and my spoons and my measuring cups and all of that, my bowls, and I put that right next to my little workstation with my camera set up. The vegan feta that I was using needed to come to room temperature, so I decided to film a straight to camera portion of the banana bread recipe video, and this is my little setup. Got a little bit derailed because this just came in the mail. This is basically some vegan chicken from a brand that I'm working with. It's a frozen chicken, and I'm going to be making some recipe videos for them, and so I have to get this in the freezer ASAP because it says frozen, perishable, freeze ASAP. So I've got to go do that. Okay, so don't worry, you're not gonna see my bed in the video, but I did move my desk chair over here because I like this background. I'm gonna move those gifts out of the way so that I have kind of a more neutral background. So I'll be sitting right here, and I have the tripod directly in front of me. This camera is gonna go right there when I'm done. And then I have these two soft boxes basically right in front of me. And the reason they're called soft boxes is because they have this white fabric over the top. The light is right in there, and then this fabric goes over it, and it basically diffuses the light. If the fabric wasn't on there, it would be a really harsh, intense light, and it basically just kind of diffuses that light and makes it look a bit more soft and a bit more like natural daylight, which honestly really helps the quality of the footage that you're filming. I feel like this camera, as you can probably tell from like the footage right now, this camera doesn't really do super well in low lighting. It gets kind of grainy and just the overall quality goes down considerably. But when I put my lights on, it really makes a big difference. Without the lights on, you can see that everything is very flat. You're not seeing the true colors. There's not a lot of dimension, and everything is just a bit grainy. With the lights on, you're seeing the true colors, you're seeing the dimension, and you're seeing just what it feels like to really be in that room. I like to do a little bit of color grading, and what this does is it kind of makes all of the colors in the frame a little bit more cohesive. So you can see that all of the colors, from the wall color to the color on the mirrors behind me to my hair color and what I'm wearing, there's just something cohesive about it, and I think it adds a little bit of a cinematic effect. It looks a little bit softer and cozier, which is the vibe I like to go for. It's totally a style choice. There's other types of color grading that makes everything really sharp and vibrant, but I think it makes a subtle but nice difference. I know you guys love free stuff, and so I'm going to be showing you how I do my food styling and video editing in just a second, but I wanted to let you know that Skillshare is offering a free month trial to the first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description box below. I did not learn any of this stuff that I'm showing you in school. I did not go to school for web development, for videography, photography, social media marketing. Basically everything that is involved with my job is self-taught, and it's a very slow process when you don't know what you don't know. And so for me, there's been a lot of late nights Googling every single little thing about Final Cut and HTML code and really trying to teach myself along the way, which is very rewarding, but it's also a very slow process, again, because you don't necessarily know what to even look for when you're trying to teach yourself. And so I have and still do use Skillshare. I think it's an incredible way to get very thorough information about exactly what it is you're looking for. They have so many different categories, from everything I've talked about in the video, like food styling, photography, video editing, how to grow on social media, but they also have lots of classes about finances and drawing and animation and personal development, and seriously, so much cool stuff. If you are the kind of person who loves learning and you feel just very invigorated and inspired the more you learn, I definitely recommend Skillshare. I personally use them, like I said, and so when they said that they would offer you guys a free month to check it out, I could not resist partnering with them. So I really hope you guys will enjoy it and take advantage of the community there. Like I said, the first 1,000 of you to click that link will get that free month. So definitely take advantage of the opportunity, and let's jump back into the video. After I set up my lights, the first thing I filmed on this day was the straight to camera portion of my banana bread recipe video. So this is where I'm talking about the recipe, I'm walking you through the recipe, I'm also filming the intro and the outro here, and then later on when I edit, which I'll show you, I overlay the recipe to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Then it was time to film an Instagram reel, so I rolled up my sleeves, and since you're mostly going to be seeing my hands, I put some rings on. But I was actually filming a recipe for a brand that is going to go on their website and on their Instagram. And every once in a while I do this, and it's a really cool opportunity to get to spread my recipes and share vegan food with more people. So I like to make sure that when I'm filming vertical videos for Instagram and TikTok, that I'm constantly moving the camera around, and having this iPhone tripod is really handy. I'll link it below, but basically you want to move it every few shots. Like every time I add a new ingredient, I pretty much change the angle, and this creates more visual interest in the final product. I usually film most of the recipe first, and then I'll go through and add these little like straight to camera shots where I'm opening something or I'm scooping something close up. It creates a nice ASMR effect where you get that little bit of sound from the container opening or for the bottle opening, or like the scoop sound when you're measuring out something in a measuring spoon, and it just creates a nice ambiance, and it also is attention grabbing. But I like to do that afterwards, and then I'll kind of cut it up when I edit it. The other thing I will say is that I have a tendency just to flip the camera around and film with the front facing camera, and I know a lot of people don't recommend doing that when you're filming a vertical video because the camera on the back is higher quality, but my way around that is to flip it around so that I can see myself and make sure I'm in frame, and I'll open Instagram and go to Instagram stories, and then I'll select hands-free so that I can film without having to hold the phone, and then I will save those stories instead of posting them, and that way I can have them in the right format and I can easily insert them into my videos. Food styling is actually one of my favorite parts of the job, and there are some people who are food stylists, like that's their main job. And there's this TikToker, oh my gosh, he makes the coolest food styling videos. He does it, I think, for the New York Times, and he has a degree in sculpture, and so looking at the way that he plates things and like the lighting that they use and the little tools, like the little droppers and things, like it to me is mesmerizing. And so I really try to be creative when I'm plating, but also make it look approachable for real life. Like I don't want something that's so artistic that it feels cold or removed. Like the whole point of what I do is to share recipes for real life, and so I want stuff that looks, you know, elevated and exciting, and you know, you really just sort of see the colors and you get excited about the vegan food, because that's a big part of it, right? Like making vegan food seem appetizing to vegans and non-vegans alike. I almost want it to look like you could reach into the photo and touch it. Like you could really see yourself enjoying that in real life. And so some of the ways that I do that is with props. I try to decorate the scene with ingredients that are actually in the recipe, just to kind of give an idea of what the flavor profile is going to be like. And I also try to focus a little bit on shape. So I've learned a lot about composition, and I do try to create S-curves or nice lines and movement. I also try to leave a little bit of room for negative space sometimes, but all of that is definitely a work in progress, and I feel like I'm constantly changing my photography style. I don't think I have a signature style yet. I don't think I have a signature anything yet, to be honest with you, but I do love experimenting with it, and I always end up with way more content than I'm gonna need. But as someone who likes to edit both videos and, you know, putting together a blog post, which has a lot of photos in it and it kind of tells a story visually through photography, I really do like having a lot to work with, and it's almost like the more footage I have, the better. Not always true. You can definitely overshoot and waste your time and get carried away, but for the most part, it's better to have a little more footage than you think you're gonna need than too little, because that's always frustrating. I also filmed a recipe for my chickpea stuffed tomatoes. It's like a pesto chickpea rustic Italian style stuffed tomato. It was really fun to film. I was working with this beautiful vegan wine company and I was creating another Instagram reel basically. So this was my setup and it ended up being my lunch as well. For the beginning part of the afternoon, I snacked on some of the whipped feta that I had earlier, which I guess is like part one of my lunch on this day. It's really good with crostini and it's also really good with pasta, which I'll show you later. But I had it just out of the container, not quite as aesthetically pleasing as when I was filming it, but every bit as delicious. And then I also had 2 of these pesto chickpea stuffed tomatoes. I edit on Final Cut Pro, so the first thing I do is open a new project, and because this was for a reel, I did it in the vertical format, but for YouTube, I do 1080p. Then I import my footage. Here I airdropped it from my phone, but otherwise I just insert my memory card. And then I take all of those clips and I put it on the timeline. Here I'm just making it a little bit larger and I'm making sure that all the clips are in chronological order so that it makes sense. I'm also checking to make sure that all of my clips are facing the right direction. They're not sideways or upside down or anything like that. Then I'll take the blade tool and trim each clip so that it's nice and clean. There's no dead space or any redundancies. And I'll just go through the whole timeline and cut as much as I can because you want to have really quick cuts, especially on Instagram and TikTok. A lot of times people will edit to sound so that the cut lines up with the beat of the music. And if I'm doing that, I usually edit on the TikTok app or, I'll do that with the song already picked out. I usually get my music for YouTube on Epidemic Sound. I have a music license there. It has a bunch of royalty-free music, but you can also get free royalty-free music on YouTube's audio library. But because I normally do voiceover for these kinds of recipe videos, I didn't have to cut this with any kind of music in particular. So I was really just thinking about the timing. I was speeding up certain clips, slowing down certain clips so that it moves really nicely. I like to keep it under a minute, but that's just personal preference. One of the things I love about Final Cut is it has a bunch of built-in transitions and also plugins that you can buy. So I've bought a lot of transitions and also lookup tables, which is how I do my color grading. And you can really adjust them and kind of play around with them, customize it and make it your own. And Final Cut just has so many options for that. For the lookup tables that I use, I generally go for filters that are very cinematic and kind of soft and diffused to give sort of a cozy feel. You can adjust the transparency, so you could go all the way up and go really intense if you wanted to. I generally do very, very low just to kind of soften the colors and make everything look really cohesive. But I also have some pre-made filters that I've made that are really bright and sharp and colorful when I want something that is very vibrant, and I use those as well. So I kind of just play around depending on the vibe of the video. I use these for both Instagram and TikTok videos and my YouTube videos. Really just depends, but I try to do just a little bit so that it's more about changing the colors than making things look too perfect, because you do want authenticity. I want the food to actually look like the food, so it's really just about making it look as good as it does in real life on camera, because if you see this footage before and after, it just doesn't look the same as it does in real life. So that's the whole point of color grading. After a long day of filming, I usually opt for leftovers or something frozen. Honestly, sometimes even just like a veggie burger from the freezer that I can quickly throw together just fast. So that is why I went for one of my tried and true quick recipes, which is just a veggie pasta with store-bought tomato sauce. I went for some air fried tofu on this day. I happened to have some fresh basil, so I snipped that on top. And actually the next night I had this exact same recipe, but I tossed some of that vegan feta, that whipped feta in it, and it was so much better. So if you're gonna make your usual, tomato sauce with veggies and pasta, try throwing it together, like toss it around with the vegan whipped feta recipe that I'll link below. It really is a game changer, makes it so good. If you guys have any questions about anything that you saw in this video, I highly encourage you to check out the description box below, because it is going to be chock full of all kinds of info, including the link to try Skillshare. So make sure you check that out. It's a month free. Share it with someone you know, anyone in your life who is creative, who loves learning, who's interested in personal growth or professional growth. This is seriously the place. Plus they have an incredible online community where you can connect with other creative people. Check out the link, share it with your friends. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you're not already, and hit that bell notification, because that will make sure that you never miss a future video. It's totally free to subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoy my channel. I will see you in a video very soon. Bye.